Hey YouTube, this is Don. Today I'm gonna review another portable handheld, which is a sequel to which I don't know if you can consider it. Well, it's I don't know I don't know how to describe it, but it's another version of the original Game Boy called. Well, I got here these two Game Boy Color, and I got two of them. One's the Pokemon style, and this one's a lime green, though the green one I got first, which I'm about to donate to my brother. So anyway, now what are these two consoles? Well, it's the first Game Boy, not the original black and white one, but the first one to have color graphics. Even though it was technically not the first handheld to have color graphics, but the first one to be made by Nintendo with color graphics. I kind of like the Pokemon one, but this one I'll donate to my brother. So if my brother Dale, if you're watching this, if you get a chance, be sure to give me a shout out and thank you for donating this to you if you're watching this. But anyway, now it's got nothing's different. Although the speaker is much smaller and it looks different, it's got the usual D-pad, B and A, start and select. They're pretty much the same. But the biggest difference is that, unlike the original Game Boy, it lacks a lock to lock the cartridge in. Plus, the cartridge slot can now accept Game Boy Color games. But also, and the cool part is that back in the day when it was first released, the saving grace on this console is that it is backwards compatible with the original Game Boy games from the original Game Boy. Not only that, but it will also make their graphics appear in color rather than monochrome. Now, you notice this battery cover is not the same as the back of this Game Boy. Well, that's because I was missing the battery cover for this thing when I first got this particular one. And that's for the green one, the lid that opens and closes the battery compartment on the green one is broken, but I still should be able to open it, even though it's a little loose. But the batteries should be able to still stay in, as long as my brother knows what to do. But also, it's got this thing, I think it's intended for a wrist strap to keep the Game Boy from falling off your hands. So got an extension port to link two Game Boy Colors together. But you notice this one's different from the original Game Boy, so it's not backwards compatible with the original Game Boy cables, which is a bummer. But the pluses is that it has color graphics, which is pretty cool. It's got a volume dial. Notice there's no contrast adjuster. So the volume dial is moved over here. And it's also got an on-off switch, and there's a light indicator right there that says power instead of battery. That lets you know when the console's turned on. It's got the Nintendo logo here, and the word Game Boy has been moved on to the screens around the screen, and it's got the word color in 5 different colors, which gives it a good logo, which is pretty iconic, and which is pretty colorful, and it makes this thing really attractive. But it does show that this thing does say otherwise. Underneath, it's got a DC 5 volt. Oh wait. This is actually a 3 volt in AC adapter. Let me see the difference. I'll show you the difference about it later. And it's also got a headphone jack similar to the original Game Boy, which means you can use pretty much any headphones or earbuds you can get with this thing. They're not yet outdated, so. And if you open this battery compartment, instead of taking 4 AA batteries, this one takes 2 AA batteries, which makes this thing more perfect than which makes this thing, you know, have good battery life, which is pretty nice actually. And it's so slim like the Game Boy Pocket, which allows you to fit in your pocket, which is pretty nice. Here's where the cartridges would go. And this thing, I don't know what that black thing is for. And maybe it's because of, maybe it's a wireless or a sensor thing. I don't know what it's for. But if you guys know what this black thing is supposed to do, please let me know in the comments, and I'll type it in the description. But anyway, now I'm just going to show you the size comparison and the comparison with this Game Boy Color and the original Game Boy. Now when it comes to the AC jack, it's on the side rather than under. It's on the bottom instead of on the side like the original. Note this DC jack is much bigger than the Game Boy Color, so the Game Boy Color needs a smaller DC jack as opposed to this one, so it's not compatible. Which doesn't matter since this is 3 volts instead of this one being 5 volts. So got the lock, which the Game Boy Color lacks. Cartridge ports are identical. Tells you what model number in the back. Let me show you this size comparison. Also, as far as how big it is. This thing is the original Game Boy is kind of slightly more taller than the Game Boy Color. Well, at least I didn't drop them too. But overall, it's a nice slimmer option, and a nice option to cement and replace this thing, even though this console did sell well, because it was not necessarily the first handheld to make cartridges, to use cartridges, but the first one to make such a big impact. But the Game Boy Color made a great sequel to this thing, just to make it fit in your pocket, yet had color graphics. I would have some add-ons for it, but I'll talk about those on another video entirely. Now, I'll show you what games that you can get for the Game Boy Color. Like, Toki Tori, which is a chicken game where you collect all the eggs, I think. And it's kind of like a puzzle game, I think. Or something, which I'll talk about in another video. Power Rangers, I think it says Long Speed Rescue, Power Rangers Long Speed Rescue, Mario Golf, Pokemon Crystal version, which is a sequel to Pokemon Gold and Silver, the originals. Pokemon Gold and Silver, the Silver version I got when I was younger, and the Gold version, I don't know when I got it. Probably got it for Christmas about a couple of years ago. Scooby-Doo Classic Creepers. And there's 3 Game Boy Color cartridges that I'm aware of that has the vibration feature, otherwise known as the rumble feature, like one of my favorites called Pokemon Pinball. Now, in order to get the vibration and rumble feature to work, you need to put 1 AAA battery in the cartridge itself. And whenever you play this game, at certain parts of the game, like some certain parts of the game will trigger this thing to make it go off. Now, as for these kind of cartridges, they plug in like so. And they got a lump on them to pull them out, much as opposed to the original Game Boy. And no, the Gold and Silver cartridges, I don't know if they're compatible with the original Game Boy, but the box art did mention they're compatible with the Game Boy Color instead, even though they look the same as Pokemon Red and Blue. Now anyway, this cartridge in particular slides in like so. And there's also Vigilant T8, which I don't know how to pronounce. And there's one more I got called 10-Pin Bowling. Now, let's turn on the Game Boy Color and see what it has to offer. Now, this is what the boot-up screen looks like on the Game Boy Color. It says Game Boy instead of Nintendo as on its boot-up screen. Now, I'll talk about this game on another video, but I just want to play this game just to give you the idea of how the vibration feature works. Hear the vibration or rumble feature? Yeah, that's how the rumble cartridge packs work. And that's what the color graphics look like. I'm sure you get the idea. Overall, yeah, in conclusion, the Game Boy Color may not be anything worth playing today, since the Game Boy this thing was eventually replaced by the Game Boy Advance, which is compatible with all the Game Boy cartridges, especially its own library of games. No Game Boy Advance games will not fit on this console. The cartridge port is different. But overall, yeah, this is a nice improvement over the original Game Boy. I wouldn't necessarily recommend going out and buy this console, but if you like the Game Boy Color and want to relive memories with it, you would love this. Especially this Pokemon version, if you're into Pokemon, of course. And there's other versions of the Game Boy Color, which I'm not going to try to buy them all and review them for you. So if you want to look it up yourself, be my guest to look up other different styles or colors for this thing. To be my guest to see what they look like for yourself. Because these two Game Boys colors, that's all I'm showing you. Now anyway, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this and like the video, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. This is me, signing off.